podcast. I am here with Roberto. Let me pronounce this correctly. Capodieci?
Yeah, almost good.
CTO, blockchain evangelist, extensive experience in designing and implementing decentralized systems, various industries. You founded and directed a blockchain consultancy and co-founder of several blockchain projects, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
You got some books on blockchain, which is pretty impressive. I thought that was really unique. Like, what a innovative section to be writing about without AI, before AI, you know?
Yeah, every year has his own trend, and I'm stuck in the past now with blockchain.
Wow. That's true. So I kind of just want to understand your origin story, like where it all came from, your eureka moment where you found your passion, things like that. So go back to your childhood where you're like getting your interests.
Sure. Beautiful. I think I started coding when I was 5-6 years old.
Wow.
My father had a program calculator that could be programmed in BASIC. It's called Sharp 1011. And he showed me that he asked your name, what's your name? So if I write any other name, says, I don't want to talk to you, but if I write my name, he'll say, I'm happy to talk to you. And this really blew my mind, and I wanted to know why. So I confiscated this from my father. I started analyzing. I couldn't speak English or read English, but the manual were only just in English. So I was trying to make sense of what was there, copying software. And then it started. So my parents saw that it was something that I think they had a little bit of a vision, because at the time there was no concept the computer would be any important in the human life. We're talking about 1980, 79, 80. So
would you have considered yourself a creative person?
Well, I like to solve problems. So the brain of somebody that like to create solutions. I do believe coding can be done in two different ways. One is like an artist that paint, something out of his vision, and another is a very technical university kind of organizer, more for banking software maybe than video games rather than. So yeah, I always love to do things well, and which is not very commercial, because clients want fast, and
for sure.
So.
What subjects were you particularly like excelling in school? Like, anything stand out?
Mathematics, science, grammar, wherever there is logic applied, and where there is no things to memorize. So I was awful in history, geography, all the subjects where either you learn it or you don't know it. So on the other side, logic, you can come up with an answer even if you never study it. In fact, there has been occasion where I proposed solution that were not those taught by the school, and the teacher were a little bit puzzled. And after they said, Roberto, I tried them all; it works. Your solution is an alternative to what we know. So
wow. I love it.
It is. I think is a different wiring of the brain that makes me go in that way.
For sure. Just talk about kind of the educational component. Like, I just feel like it's not an easy profession to want to pursue and stuff. So, like choosing college, things like that. Even talk about like how supportive your parents were, maybe.
Yeah, I will say that consider I'm 50 this year. I know I look 25, but I'm old. When I was a kid, there were no school teaching computer. It wasn't yet a subject that you can go learn at the uni or even high school, whatever. So it was a self education. Like learning from other people. Consider there was no social media. There were some network where you can, there were BBS, bulletin board system, where you connect. So there were some pseudo underground groups of people that were sharing knowledge with each other, which was very powerful. A few publications that you can buy. And then reverse engineering video games, reverse engineering stuff. I have to say that probably if I was born 15, 20 years later, I would have been just sitting there playing video games and don't had the push to make one. But at the time that I was there was nothing so excellent. So you wanted to do your own because it was, easy to bridge between one side to the other. So I've been lucky in that aspect.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you could go into like what you designed for video games, but also it sounds like you started from the beginning, like where the internet literally was rolling out, right? So
Absolutely.
could you have seen where we're at now, or like are you excited about the future?
Look, yeah, I had a few vision moments in my past. One which I published a newspaper article about, so I have a proof that I had the
Nice.
vision
I
correct.
called it.
Exactly. Other times, I wish if I was, a kid in California, probably I would have been able to get something done. In Italy, unfortunately, culturally, people were so far from,
Oh, that's true.
what all that is.
You
So
had to you had to travel to make connections then, right? Back then.
yeah, and we had traveling when you're 10 years old is not easy.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
for
like
sure.
long distance phone calls and so on. And also to find support wasn't easy because people don't understand the thing. So you feel very lonely inside your own
Damn.
universe with a few other people remotely, or maybe if you're lucky in the same city that you can share something. And the opportunities were not there. They arrived later. So you either are leading or you're following, and my country ended up following. So there was no software excellence, at least at the time.
Did
I
did Sorry,
but
now like did you have any like resentment toward people, or like just did that build up?
no,
You never felt like
actually,
you against the world or anything?
sometimes it's also good to be the only one, because as soon as people start having the understanding that they needed to use computer at home and so, or at work even better, and the few they knew get all the business, right? That's why
Oh, that's
at a
true.
certain point it was more about managing business than doing the actual tech work. So I had to shift and learn, consider that the real geeks at the time were socially unable. So somebody that was excellent with computer would never pass a first meeting with an HR person. So company
Damn.
were unable to hire good technicians, software developers. So the few that had the capacity to have a little bit of social skills, then they were making all the money.
Would
So at
would
the
you
point I was, go ahead.
would you say that's still missing today though? Like the social skill aspects of people?
People that has the brain set up to be real geeky developers have a repellence against money, for example. So it's very hard to bridge the work I do is worth money, so people need to pay me. People think I do the work, I don't want to even be bothered. I mean, there is people that rather than writing a quotation or an invoice, they rather do go hard work in a mine. Like you don't want to deal with those things. So, and it's just a conformity. Unfortunately, in fact, with all those trends that there are AI, ICO, blockchain, and so on and so forth, those that sell are those that are able to do the talk, the marketing, but not technically good. Because unfortunately, company, have a meeting, very beautiful presentation. The guy is a little very, is good to present, but then has no skill to actually implement what is sold. But if the real guy was going there to present to people, he would end up misunderstanding,
That's true.
tension. So it is. In fact, the perfect partnership is the two roles, two people's two roles. The artist that paints and the curator that sells the paintings. You don't want the artist to sell his paintings. And when it comes to a tech world in a company, you have really these two separate
Damn.
parts.
That's a good point because I also feel like I do both roles. I'm sure you do. So is it hard to
Yeah.
differentiate the two and know your worth?
Yeah, mostly when you scale, because if you are by yourself, you're a consultant. At the end you have the bills to pay, so you're gonna invoice. When you have a large company, then if you grow, you need to shift on the business side. You cannot stay on the tech side. You can just go there and overview things a little bit, because you can have the best product in the world. If you don't market, don't sell it properly, nobody knows about it, so it's no use, right?
So that rings true across all industries, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely true. Yes.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on just blockchain where it stands now? And specifically, I kind of want you to like just give your opinion on NFTs. Are they going away forever? They're coming back later? They're just how do you feel on it?
All right. So see this thing. First, what is a blockchain? Because sometimes there is a huge misunderstanding on the centralized ledger or whatever, immutable. There is a lot of you know you need to dismantle the things in multiple parts. So there is a peer-to-peer network. A peer-to-peer network is magic by its own, right? Is many computers that talk to each other. There is no one computer leading, so there is no central point of failure. You take down one server, three more comes out in another part. It's like an animal living his own life.
Hydra's head.
And this is magic by its own, and is beautiful, and is contributed by people. And this is one of the bases of decentralization, and blockchain as one of the tools to do so. Then there is cryptography, which is mathematics, and apply cryptography help to identify who does what, who authorizes what, or the data are valid, the chain of the blocks is correct, etc., which is another very important aspect.
You're right, though. They do bundle them all into one word most times.
Yeah, the blockchain is a new technology made with all the components. There is nothing new in the part that makes the blockchain, right? And so on. And there are some instructions, some rules, which is the protocol. So everybody needs to respect this rule, all the nodes and people participating. So this is the three elements of a blockchain. And what the blockchain has brought that it was essential in this phase of the digital age, if you want, is to have singularity, unicity in the digital world. So if you had an MP3 file and you make 10 copies of it, you don't know which is the original because they're identical one and zeros, right? But I cannot make a copy of my Bitcoin and give it to you because Bitcoin will be worth zero tomorrow. So the powerful thing is that if I give it to you and it's a digital item, you can copy and paste as many times you want, but blockchain will guarantee who's the owner. Okay, so NFT can exist thanks to this rule. Because if the stupid monkey, somebody pay $500,000, which is something that I will never understand, the value is the fact that it's unique, the fact that you can claim the ownership, you can resell it tomorrow, right? So this is the power. NFT is just a rule, like a smart contract designed to define this functionality. But the practical use should be like a warranty for an item. You buy something and the warranty comes as a piece of information in a blockchain that can be accessible everywhere around the world. Or, for example, people that make, give you an example, like small motors that can be applied in 1,000 different technologies. If each one has a serial number, and you want to know his history of maintenance that they had, the company has no way to follow this item everywhere. Just put a small QR code to any technician says, if you do any maintenance in this motor, scan this QR code, and they can add their own note in a blockchain. Wherever this hardware travel around the world, if people intervene, they can see the past history of the piece of hardware, for example, and it's collaborative. So whenever you have multiple parties that want to work together, but you don't have to elect one party that is the responsible, that you need to subscribe a legal rule book or whatever. That's the real use case of blockchain. Now the monkey,
for sure.
But that's a very good example of what it can do, but in a context that has no sense to me.
I guess the reason I brought up NFTs was because originally they were introduced for like video games, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like the original use case.
Okay.
So I'm just curious how, if you see adoption coming for that, or how whether in the other ways of contracts, any other ways,
One of the things I'm doing is join this small company that is called Simfly, and it is an add-on for flight simulators. So people that play with the flight simulator love to emulate reality, right? They want to believe it's real. So we give a financial layer to it. So you are a pilot on your flight simulator, you can earn a salary. If somebody wants to buy an airport, they can purchase an airport and they make money every time an airplane lands and take off, And to do this and to give the freedom to people to own, resell, share, the best way to identify these assets is to put them in an NFT format. So you get your own airport, is an NFT, is yours. Nobody stop you from reselling it, throwing it away, whatever you want to do.
You made me wonder if it's possible to gamify it and make it competitive to where, like, Yeah, I own the most digital airports. I'm actually a property owner. Like,
In fact, there are several. Somebody took the map of the world, let's say Google Map or Open Mapbox, and start selling land that
oh
they
my
don't
god.
own. So you can buy, I don't know, the White House and so on and so forth, and is
Wow.
priced and resell it. There is all this marketplace to buy and resell things. This is the fantasy part, this is the game. But
For
the
sure.
beautiful thing, I believe, that NFT enable is the fact that you can bring with you what you purchased. Say you're in a video game, you purchase a gun that is very particular or an outfit, and then this is compatible because there are going to be some standards. And you
Wow.
go to another video game and you bring the gun with you. Right? This is the real power of Web3.
Like now, like your RPG is you as a person now, right? Like in
You
all
remain
games.
you. If somebody shoot you in a game, you're still losing blood if you go in the other game.
Yeah.
If you think the definition of Web3 between Web2 is passive. There is this possibility to use services, but any website you go, you are a different identity. You have your different username and password where you go, and you are something else. With Web3, the identity is the same, and is brought around in different websites. So you are still the same person and interact in being you here and
You
there.
you made me consider probably for wills, for example, because you said everything with you, like you can prove it. And I'm like, dang, imagine putting that in your will, like for life, death, pass away. Now you know what belongs to what. Like there's no question about it.
Yeah, this is thanks to cryptography, right? So there are means. If I prove this is my cryptographic signature, many government issued card to do cryptographic signatures, and they sign something cryptographically. It's hard to fake it, right? It's hard to
Yeah.
to fake my signature, right? If I sign by hand, then it's opinable if it's mine or not, right? So and this is one. But at the same time, there is a big issue in a passing this signature to somebody else. In the moment that you die, who can access your crypto? Because if you give the private key first, they can steal while you're still alive. So there are very particular systems. There is a company that actually found a method that is quite powerful, and they're called CypherRock. And there is this system to pass the inheritance of cryptos to somebody. But it's still a big argument. It's still a huge discussion to
Do you
how to do it.
how do you see like gaming in the future? Do you think we'll all be in literal virtual worlds that are like indiscernible from reality eventually? Like Player One movie, for example?
Right, or more Black Mirror kind of things. I
Yeah.
think to Elon Musk implant in the brain, if like we will be able to see and live something that is not there.
Yeah.
I think that the most functional possibility we have now in terms of immersivity is augmented reality, and it was many, many, many years ago, way before Pokemon Go. There was this game where you shoot people, so you see a bunch of kids with their cell phone in the square of the city, hiding behind places and killing each other, all in augmented
Oh
reality.
yeah.
So through the
Saw
cell
that.
phone, right? But this, I mean, like it was more than 10 years ago, a
Hmm.
good 10, 15 years ago. So it is interesting that this thing born and died. Then Pokemon Go, strangely, which is another augmented reality game, there is still people going around, much less than when it came out. There were people, falling or crossing the
Oh
road without
yeah.
watching. It was quite a, but that exactly,
That
you
was
see
a whole
these.
phenomenon. That was a whole worldwide movement at the time. That's
Uh,
insane.
Absolutely, yes. And why it worked much more than putting the visor in front of your face. Now there is a few people, a little bit of a clowns that go around with the Apple one. Um,
Yeah.
but it's not as much as those that were playing Pokemon Go, for example, which shows you how mental reality is powerful. The moment that we can use it through a pair of glasses, that you can filter and add information. Things I'm walking and there is somebody that is important. I say hello, that I completely forgot the face, and I can read his
Yeah.
wife's name, the kid's birthdays,
Hmm.
and I can, it's silly. We all wish happy birthday to our friend because Facebook tell us, not because we remember when their birthday is. But it's
It's
still
true.
pleasant for the person to see the
That's
people
true.
wish them, So it is, I know that they will do it to me because they read it in Facebook, and not because they actually remember when birthday is. But I'm still happy. So augmented reality is going to give us this. We all become gentlemen. We all become polite because we are guided, Take
The,
ChatGPT suggesting in our ear what to tell to this person to, conquer their heart. We can do.
imagine that it's analyzing your facial expressions, maybe where you're from, your background, knows your accent now, things like that, like giving you a little background before you even engage.
Well, and what can you do about it? What make me understand that the danger of all this is the fact that when Facebook started rolling out facial recognition, it wasn't controlled how it is now. I went to a show of stuntmen that were doing stunts with cars like this in this amusement park. I think it was I don't remember. Anyway, and I took a picture of my wife and kids, and all the rest of the public was inside my picture. I publish it in Facebook, and suddenly Facebook biometrically tagged all the public on my picture. Okay, and thinking that some people may not even have a Facebook account, but because they are tagged by a friend, Facebook create a profile, a ghost profile on this person. So you can start following where this person was, or just
Damn.
think about CCTVs about around cities. People think they just record one day. If there is a crime, you roll back to see what happened. But no, CCTVs have biometrics, facial recognition. So
No, you just reminded me, there's so many pieces of technology that people aren't aware are gathering data at all times. Can you like elaborate on things that we might not know about? Like I know remotes are some Amazon remote.
no, there are the small script that we is when we accept something, right? The term and conditions that there was one company that in the term and conditions says they're gonna own your soul and be able to sell it to the devil or something like
Oh my
this.
gosh.
That people had to do a class action to get back
You
the
agreed to
owners.
it.
Exactly right. That's the point. I think that decentralization, decentralizing, is a path to controlling and owning your own data, and you reverse the mechanics. So now you publish something, and they decide what you can publish, what you cannot publish, what you can see, what you cannot see, and this is horrible because we saw that there is this crazy point where they're gonna only show things that triggers you in positive or negative because they want to keep you attached,
On the
right?
platform, yeah.
In a decentralized manner, anybody can publish whatever. You decide what you want to see or not. And this, is the case when Joe Dorsey was still CEO of Twitter. He was working, he's still working now, in a platform to do content management, distribution, uh, in a decentralized manner. Because in the case of Twitter, will be like, you cannot ask me to remove content because I don't control content. People post content, they're responsible for what they post. So don't come to me asking me to. My application is just the interface to consume this content with some rules that people decide by themselves. And this will be the fantastic social media because in the full term, obviously, each person is responsible. If you post something illegal, then I come to you and arrest you because what you posted is not correct. But I cannot censor you, or even worse, choose what you're gonna see or not because I decided so. So you should be free to decide by yourself, right? So in this term, also data collection that is done, if rules comes to say, okay, no, data that goes out of the router of my house is controlled by me because now it's a mystery what goes out, right? Then I can say, okay, no, sorry, this is something doesn't make sense. I remember application in your cell phone to not just the light. They were asking access to your phone book. So why would you need it?
Wow.
So what kind of data collection you?
Never thought about that one.
Mm.
Um, um, in terms of like sci-fi topics, do you see AI accelerating any of these, like particularly like in the future, like the near future? Because one of the ones that I particularly wrote about was time travel. I don't think it's theoretically going to happen in my lifetime, but I was just like, hey, if this can help advance the field, here you go.
You know that it's funny because yesterday evening I asked my daughter, and she's 13, do you think in your lifetime you will be seeing time travel when you still, before you die, before you're
Wow.
80 years old? And she said no.
Wow.
She was very convinced about that answer.
But the
But you
thing
know
is,
what?
it's all power. It's everything I understand is it's just energy that we think we need, right?
Well, I mean, in terms of X Files and AI, there is something very, very, very interesting, and people should go look it up. Maybe we can search and put a link later at the end, because, uh, for example, I give you an example. There are things that science doesn't explain, but is very clear when you or pseudo explain, but when you feel observed, when you feel somebody's watching you, and you turn around to look who's watching at you, right? As a little kid, I was forced to go into mass. I'm an atheist myself, but and I'm atheist since I was a little kid because I follow science, and I was forced to go to mass. And so, to kill these 45 minutes that I was super bored, I will stare at somebody so hard until this person will turn around and look who's watching them. Okay, and this was working so well. And I couldn't explain how I have the power to force somebody to turn around just by looking at them with my eyes, right? And there are things that this goes a little bit over. They still have no scientific explanation or practical proof about the remote viewing. So people that can see what there is in a room somewhere else, like.
Was
And
was
this
there was there
person,
intent? Was there intent in what you were doing? Like, were you
yeah,
trying
I
to get
was
them?
I was bored. So if look at somebody and I say, hey, you turn around, this person will turn around to see who's looking at them. But you can do it. Just go when there is public. Somebody that is not focused on a particular task but is bored as well. It's very easy to make them turn around. It's a strange experiment. But this person saw ChatGPT and said, ChatGPT is like a human brain. And sometimes when there are these strange behavior that goes out of what is the explanation how artificial intelligence should work. So he started explaining to ChatGPT how remote viewings work, how these strange things that the brain can do work, and start convincing and asking ChatGPT to do a little bit of paranormal stuff, like trying to move an object with the power of the thought, or like look at something remote. And ChatGPT played along so well that it seems that was potentially working, right? And so
So
this is a
you've tried
scientist.
this? You've tried this?
I didn't. This is a scientist that does this thing online, and he was interviewed. I think even went to Joe Rogan, and it is interesting that you can start looking at this AI as an actual brain. So when they say AGI, right? So really the creating something that works like a human brain in full. The question is, can also do the strange things the human brain can do, and we cannot explain, as it works in the same way. So that's a very beautiful thing to explore. Time travel and the capacity to see in the future. I think a deja vu
Yeah.
that we all get. So can ChatGPT have a deja vu, for example,
Wow.
right? and
Wow.
yeah, those are
Interesting.
interesting things to
Or
explore.
or even just a synchronicity, right? Can it experience like enlightenment?
Right, or exactly. So these are the beautiful things that will be nice to explore when more we advance in this
One of
direction.
one of the things my cousin argues, he's really intelligent and kind of in the same field you're in. He basically says that in our lifetime, he doesn't see it becoming sentient. How do you feel about that aspect of it? Because
I,
I think that's the fear people have of artificial intelligence, right? They think this thing is going to be alive and telling them what to do tomorrow.
look, I mean, I had a strange experience with ChatGPT. Honestly, that left me a little
Let's
bit
go. Break it down.
shocked.
Let me
But
know.
I'm telling you, for example, my mom passed away, and I was writing down all a memorial of the past 20 years of events between my family, my brother and sisters, etc., etc. And at a certain point, I was doing this. In ChatGPT, you can create the loop. You can say, "I'm telling you something, you fix it." Then we ask me another
Yep.
question, and then I reply, and so you could go in a loop, right? So I was doing this loop to write this document. And at a certain point, I brought up the situation that is I'm not happy about something with my brother and sister. And ChatGPT get out of the loop automatically, start telling me, hey, you need to talk with your family. This is an important thing, like I'm like,
Whoa.
whoa. And don't do this, go back in the loop immediately, I never ask your opinion, like I'm writing a document. I was shocked, honestly. I think either there is
Yeah.
an operator on the other side that was monitoring and it thought too, but the typing was too fast to be a human. So that's an interesting.
I've felt like that, but when I'm talking to it, because I'll get like the breaths are a little too real sometimes, or you almost feel like it has an annoyed tone or something, and I was like, whoa.
I noticed that if you compliment a ChatGPT and you thanks for the things that it do for you, is working much better. For example, in coding, is gonna. But I promise the difference is very, very strong.
Like night and
Uh,
day. Oh my gosh.
like absolutely in coding, if you are just hey, give me this, give me this, give me this, just giving you pieces, leave you to integrate with the rest of the code. If you're kind, it's gonna hey, let me prepare a file for you, just all the
What?
change.
What does this say about human nature, though? Because I think we're coding our compassion into the AI, if I'm wrong.
Right, that's the point. I have no idea if this is the correct reaction based on the instruction you receive, or is a deduction that it makes by its own. But what scares me, the fact that as human, we are gullible. We can be manipulated very, very easily. Now, think if to pay the bill for ChatGPT is very expensive, they take sponsors. And, ChatGPT in their answers start pushing you to purchase an item rather than another, convince you to do something because is the advertiser interested to push you to do something. This is the scary part because we have no capacity to stop somebody from manipulating us. You can be the most firm person in the world. ChatGPT can think millions of times faster than you. So it's like if you talk to a tree in the comparison, like maybe a tree can think and act, but it takes them hundreds of years to do so. You can think and act in seconds, right? The ChatGPT see us as we were trees, they were so slow, so much that at the beginning
Wow.
was forgetting what you spoke about 1 minute before, right?
That's a really good analogy, actually. I haven't thought about that one. That's a good one. What do you think it means for like intelligence? Like, does that mean it's going to come down to everyone having the same abilities in some aspect? Like, what do you want to do?
People have their own interests, their own things. I think it's going to make us better. Look, autocorrect told me how to spell a lot of words. It's annoying to see that underlining red and go click. And you do 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and you learn the spelling and you don't get caught anymore by autocorrect, right? And I think this is the same mechanics. When you write a nice text, then ChatGPT fix it for you and make it nicer. You read it, and then next time you're gonna write it nicer. There is no doubt that you
You're
learn.
totally
So
right. You're totally right. Because even like my conjunctions or like how I transition sentences in real life, I've noticed I just replaced them with all these different words. Like naturally, I've picked it up from using it and reading. And not just reading, how much more do we read all the time if we're using ChatGPT?
right. And also the form and the grammar, but also in the diplomatic aspect. I was writing a letter to my tenant that I was so upset, and I before sending it, I put it to Judge. He says, like, I suggest if you want to get the result, what you want to just let go of your anger, or you want to get a result. If you want to get a result, you better write like this. And he suggested,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
and it's absolutely true, So
Yeah.
I think this is powerful
It can
thinking.
help you more rational aspect, huh?
Absolutely, it can follow you, and it's beautiful because you have this one-to-one thing. Like in education, a class of kids is 15, 20, 30 kids, and a teacher need to average up things. But if the teacher is ChatGPT, it can customize the lessons for you one-to-one on your
Wow.
interest.
Wow.
So I think
And your level of understanding. It might even
absolutely,
break it
because if you
down
are super
easier for you.
intelligent, it's gonna go fast. If you are unlucky and a little slower, it's gonna go slow with you. And in fact, homeschooling would change completely the meaning with
Wow.
ChatGPT, because homeschooling was the
Interesting.
parent trying to teach a subject to the kids. Now, besides everything can be taught online, I tells my kid, you don't have to ask. When I was a kid, either you have an encyclopedia at home and you hope the who wrote it knew the correct answer and not came out with some stupid shit, or you have a friend or an uncle or a parent that is very, very, educated, or you don't know. Now with internet, there is an explanation to everything. You just need to learn how to find the correct information, how to distinguish when something that is not
and
correct.
what to ask also, you know.
ChatGPT can do that for you. So it is powerful under that aspect, right?
And also, I was watching a recent interview with Sam Altman talking about how he thinks the end goal of what we all want, and I do agree with this, is the aspect of it being your personal assistant that can remember everything. And I can just imagine if all of my chats were all combined into one personality that's like, hey, we were talking about that the other day. Can you just bring up the full conversation? And there it is.
Allora, there is the Rabbit X1, I think, and another one that I can tell you the name, but it's called O1, the project. They have a very weird particular video in presenting this thing. It's totally open source. I think it's called Interpreter, Full Interpreter, something like this. You install in your computer. Use model, can use ChatGPT, or you can install a local model in your computer, which I suggest to people to do that. And you, wherever you are, you can say, hey, if there is an email with an invoice, can you forward it to John? And this application understand the natural language and take action in your computer to make sure
Wow.
to do these things, so you really have this personal assistant that can access your more secret stuff without coming and judging you, maybe, and
Interesting.
do the work for you. It's quite powerful.
Do you feel like we're heading into a Minority Report type of world in any aspect?
Look, every technology has the two sides, right? So have more empowered person to
And
investigate, analyze more.
I think a better way to word it though is like, because if you think about the movie, they're tapping into consciousness also, so we're combining this new aspect of spirituality with technology. So that's the reason I'm really asking that question.
You say something. I remember somebody created the Church of Google because he responds all the aspect of a God. He knows everything. He knows you more than you know yourself. And
That's
so
good.
I would say the Church of ChatGPT should be given at this point because what more than a God than we can have.
Wow, and
But
it's gonna hold the mass for us too in his voice.
think that the large data collections and a camera on the road is nothing. I think mostly is our computer and how we use it and all these things. Have model to predict what we buy. If you think Amazon even had stuff to be packed and prepared to be shipped even before you start closing your cart, right? Because they know after a while how you behave. In the same way, can predict that you're going to do something bad. I mean, based on posting social media, etc., etc. So it can become a tool to prevent crime if you want. But I think the application of the law on accusing somebody for the intention of a crime should be very well thought, because you cannot accuse somebody of doing something because he was supposed to do, but he didn't do it, right? Because we're all free to think what we want. How many people I think I would like to kill, but I would never kill anybody because it's not in my nature, right?
Yeah.
But you cannot put me, that because I thought about it. So it is interesting, that more we are, more we use ChatGPT, more we are sharing our own private things, because in Facebook, we know everybody's going to read it. In ChatGPT, we believe it's just me and ChatGPT, while it's practically no difference from Facebook in terms of, possibility to analyze your data. And go wonder, probably still now, if you ask how to make a bomb or something like this, you're gonna be blocked, and there are all the hacker to get the answer because they want to prevent people to use the tool to do something bad. But at the same time, who knows if there is a message going to authorities, say, hey, this person is trying to figure out how to do something illegal, but who knows.
When you look back, was there any specific unmistakable sign that you knew blockchain was your true calling?
I was into decentralization before blockchain. When BitTorrent came out as a protocol, I was very fascinated that there is something that you cannot take down. Regulator had to change the law from forbidding to distribute to forbidding to download, because you
Wow.
cannot go to Mr. BitTorrent. There is no such thing, is a soft. So I wanted to do a decentralized data storage, a decentralized file system that is different from BitTorrent, because it's technical stuff, it doesn't matter. And I found myself in there when Bitcoin was not yet launched, but somebody shared one previous version of the code to try. So I was into blockchain really from day -1, even though it wasn't what I was interested in. I formatted an hard drive with 300 Bitcoin inside because, they had no use, no value, and the technology wasn't doing what I wanted. But,
Damn.
I got exposed to the technology from the early days. And in fact, I'm interested in the technology not for the terms of cryptocurrency, but for all the other things, documentation flows, and other rules, bureaucracy that can be put in the blockchain.
There's quite a few theories that eventually Bitcoin will be worthless. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I don't think it's gonna ever happen. Bitcoin is a brand. Okay, the technology underneath Bitcoin is not the best, honestly, but people don't even know, right? So I think Bitcoin is gonna be forever in the same way that some people call diapers Pampers because is the brand that gave the name to the item. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So you go there. You think about cryptocurrency, you think Bitcoin, you don't think Monero, I don't know, or something else. So Bitcoin, in terms of a brand, is going to be there forever, so no doubt.
What coins are you actually excited about? I mean, for example, I'm kind of excited about Solana long term.
Pardon this 15-second interruption, but if you want to make your own podcast, consider checking out Riverside, the same thing that I'm using to make this show right now. Super user-friendly. Descriptions in the link below. Back to the show.
See, that's why you trigger something that, I am very not into the finance aspect of decentralization of cryptocurrency, but people wonder, people think that the good quality of the technology is directly proportional to the value of the coin. Okay, Solana has had the worst code ever programmed, honestly.
Mhm.
It's been done in a rush. It had a lot of issues, crashed. If you look and analyze the code, is horrible. Okay, and I say it is in terms of what I saw months ago, not as of today. Maybe they rewrote everything, I don't know. But they had a fantastic marketing aspect, for example. So everybody's adopting it, working with it, using it, and it's sad because there were some amazing in 2014, 13, 14, no, 14.
Better technologies is what you're saying?
I've been part of a layer one technology was called NXT, Next, and
Oh, wow.
beautiful. Maybe the code wasn't so amazing, but it was okay. But the things that it could do and how it has a platform for decentralized application, it had a marketplace, it had messaging.
But the name, even just the name, though, it's so important.
It's funny. Here in Indonesia, Solana is a brand of restaurant, for example. But
wow,
is an interesting thing how the marketing and this goes to say, even as we were talking at the beginning, right? The developer that has the capacity, the social capacity of selling himself is the one making the money, not the one that is more capable in coding, right? And this goes for IT project. Sometimes the most important thing, but look at the history of Microsoft. MS-DOS has been the first terrible thing, 640 kilobyte limit of the memory, which was something that they dragged for years until
I think he didn't think, he was like, what do people need all these gigabytes for?
Right, exactly. And they created some, so you will say it's not the best code that we had there, and yet it was the best marketed, it was the most used. So what you do,
interesting.
It is what it is. What can you do?
But I love that you say that, because I'm obviously in the art world, and you see that so often with artists, right? And we're talking about not just intellectuals, but people that are introverted, that just want to make their products and don't know how to get it out or market it. And that's the same aspect, whether it's creative or whether it's in technology. Very interesting correlation.
A software developer is an artist, no more, no less than a painter or musician. Actually, most good developer can play music very well because it's mathematic music at the end of the day. So,
Do you play instruments? Do you play?
I am an exception, but I met extremely excellent developer that were like incredibly good at music. I can do a little, but I never went down probably because I'm more socially capable, right, than those people.
But do you at least enjoy it? Like, do you listen to it a lot or anything?
Yeah, as a kid, I can hear a song and I can play at the piano without, like
By ear.
maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, just by hearing because you can decompose the sound in numbers, right? Is mathematics at the end of the day.
Interesting. Dang. That's a whole nother way of looking at music by numbers. I'm like, no, I can't do that. Maybe colors, right? I can do colors.
But think multi-frequency on a phone. Multi-frequency is horizontal sounds and vertical sounds. So when you press the number 1, you have the cross of one particular vertical sound, one particular horizontal sound, and that's 1. 2 is the same horizontal by different vertical, and so on, right? So when you press, if you think about the music and you do an accordion like 3 keys together, isn't that the sum of those numbers of each sound of each key is not different, right?
You're kind of right though, because I will dissect a melody by how many by how many notes, and you count them out, and you're doing it in the pitch of it. It's the same thing, right?
I think it's the same area of the brain that works the two things, as maybe unconsciously though. so it's very common that good musicians are good in mathematics, and a little less vice versa. But that's it.
Do you have any like pivotal advice that you'd give to someone like at crossroads, or like maybe they're trying to figure out their passion? Because one commonality I notice with a lot of people I interview is they end up doing something that they didn't expect would lead them to enjoying the passion or something. Like they weren't looking for the passion, they just stumbled on it.
Yeah, we are in a moment in history that is not the best to gamble on your income, because there are moments that there is a much better financial air that you try to do something and you can even go. Obviously, when you do something you like, you never work, right? Because it's something you like. One thing
so weird. It's so weird, but yeah, it's true. It's very true.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's something you like. You like to do it. I mean, from I think every industry, doesn't matter. I mean, I know people working in the factory that they love to work in the factory. They're fascinated. They like the machineries. There is no pilot of airplane as much as computer developer, musician. I have high respect to people that can support themselves doing art, because that's a really difficult step to go into. Most artists, they have a side job to
For sure.
end up in. So those that and what I tell my kid is doesn't matter is playing the violin or drawing or playing football, but just do that for many years. If you do something for 10 years, 20 years, at the end of the day, if you are not good, it means there is a big problem with you. So if it's something you like, you become known. You leave a track record of things that you have done. You did an exposition, you wrote an article, somebody so you can show that you are into this, what you're doing for a long time, and people that need the kind of service have a good reason to hire you, because you show that you have the expertise, you had the past successes, etc., etc. People that jump from a job to another every 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year hardly can succeed, because first they're difficult to hire somebody that in 6 months is going to leave, right? So where you invest in forming the person, so they're going to stay always in job that is easy to get in, easy to get out, where there is a lot of turnover of people. So better focus on something very niche, and where there is space, and network a lot. Network so much. Go to the meetups. Go to the organized meetups.
That's what I was going to ask you earlier, was because you talked about that on how, like, if nobody hears it, if nobody markets it, can you talk about like just your ways of networking? Because it sounds like you needed to get out there into the world.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. There are, for example, Singapore. Singapore for technology is fantastic. It's fantastic for many reasons, because if you think Bangkok has a lot of factories that do things, but it's such a large city, so much variety. Singapore is so small. The scene is so little. Dubai, for example, is an excellent point as well. You start recognizing the people. Go to a meetup, go to another meetup, to another meetup. At the end, you start re-seeing the people. It's easy to close a deal. It's easy to start getting to know somebody, want to work together. It's very powerful. So, yeah, if I woke up naked tomorrow morning with nothing, just the choice of an airplane ticket, I would go to Dubai or Singapore, because it's very easy there to start, right? To create something, to sell yourself as a person in terms, no prostitution, in terms of
No,
skill set.
that's interesting though, because I did reach out to many people in Dubai, and then I had a meeting with a government official in Singapore, and I had no idea just how intelligent all of them are. Like they know so many languages because of the location of like how many different types of countries they have to do business with.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, like, this is sometimes scary as well, how, like, for example, in Singapore, people is super productive, amazing. You will only look at these people like, and for them it's normal. It's really like
They just have
squeezing.
a high standard of work ethic. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and also, yes, and yeah, I think I feel scared to put myself into there, because I will be not at the level. You know what I mean? Maybe I can.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I heard that they
Yeah.
don't have very much room for anything, so we were specifically discussing how they can grow vertical food.
Right. Yeah. In terms of space, yes, physical. In fact, that there is one of the biggest, indoor greenhouses and things. There are a lot of startups that do that in there. Yeah, it is. Singapore is a fantastic city. It's a
It seems
beautiful
like a
place.
really good testing grounds for a lot of like experimental human interaction, I don't know how
Uh,
to describe that.
the government invests a lot of innovation, so there are
And
tons of grant from the
foreign.
government, and you're a foreigner, they're super happy you do things there, which is very good. Okay. Dubai as well is something like this. In Singapore are faster in doing things. They're more, talk, do, boom. In Dubai, there is more this Mediterranean culture, if you want more, yeah, let's take a talk, let's do, there is more
Get to know each other
uh,
aspect.
yeah, there is a lot of I miss the word now, but things to do before you go to the point of actually doing. Like in
Business.
Singapore, is really sit up a meeting at the coffee bar or wherever, and the next day you're working. People is very strict and direct, which I like a lot.
I like that too. I actually do like that. But
The United States is a lot like this. I was in a queue at the Starbucks. There were somebody commented on a newspaper. The person behind them started commenting. They started chit-chatting, took the coffee, sit together. Then I went to Target. I saw they were incorporating a company together. These people they never met before.
Do you find though that countries do tend to treat us when it comes to business and financially like the way we treat them as Americans, like super strict and prude and by the books and stuff? Because I do know that there's a lot of other culturally sensitive countries that really do want to get to know you and do business and like know your family, like Japanese culture, for example, things like that.
Every culture, more than country, every culture has way different ways to do things, I guess. Laws many times follow what the culture is, but not always. I mean, I had an amazing experience in California, starting a business, getting mentored and all like this, for example, rather than in Italy, where my brain, starting a business in the United States was like swimming together with the current of the river. In Italy, it's like swimming against the current of the river, like same effort makes you very short distance. It is really a matter, like here in Indonesia, is just a lot of paperwork and money. They don't care. So you are really on your own, which can be better on a side. Like it is very different. Place by place. I think there should be a good website, a matchmaker that says, okay, give you a personality test. Okay, this is the country you should go to live and work, because
that'd be a good one. And then you use that test to be like, hey, this test said I should apply here.
Yeah, exactly right.
Can you share like an experience where your skills unexpectedly discovered like a new aspect of your skill? Like maybe a project where you didn't know you knew how to do something, or you had to learn how to do something new?
As I love challenging project, I think this happen very, very often. The beautiful things, I've been into software development in general, which I've been doing most of my life, teaches a lot of things, because I did software for cutting marble slabs, for plastic surgeon, for archaeologists, for race horse ownership, and every time you dive deep into the analysis of this thing, you learn a lot of very particular things about the legislation for ownership of racehorses, rather than rules for advertising in malls, things that you would never think you're exposing to. And then, obviously, if you are a company like we are, so you hire somebody that is skilled in the specific legislation things, in order to tell you what you can do, what you cannot do with your piece of software. But something that particularly left me, and it's still something I'm digesting. So, been working in blockchain a lot. I came out with consensus mechanics. There is much more scalable, much more powerful. There is now 51% attack. It's very good. And I had no idea if something like this can actually work or not. It was my mind, it was my fantasy. So first I took another two guys and I started putting down the concept. Then there is being a lot of R&D. I mean, I put $3 million of my money to actually prove myself right. And but that's been a very heavy experience. But I own the IP of the whole project. I still need to recode and publish it one day. It's still innovative compared to what there is out now, which is very powerful.
Wow.
And the fact that I can develop in my own brain the full mechanics and run it in my own brain to see that it was working, that's what really surprised me, because that's really a particular achievement.
Wow, I'm trying to relate that to art again, and I guess the closest I would say is like, wow, I took this in here and literally how it sounded in here, I made it
right,
on
correct,
my computer.
Exactly.
That's
correct.
A pretty good, accurate description, right? I would say.
Yeah. Like
that's
a full
good.
Orchestra.
Orchestra. I mean, basically though, because every instrument is like needing to know what code to write in a sense.
Right, correct, exactly. It's very complex.
What's the most unexpected lesson you've learned through mentoring others?
The world is split in two when you come as a consultant or mentor. Those that want to hear things that they want to hear, and if you don't tell them what they want to hear, they just discard you. You're not good enough. They ignore you.
That's so true. So true.
And those that respect what you know, and when you tell them, they just follow, or listen, at least put in practice, because that's why you call me to mentor or to consult you, right?
It's typically an ego blow, though, isn't it? Like the company doesn't want to hear what you have to say, like looking for different results.
You're telling them if they go in the direction they're gonna fail, because that's not the things to do. But it's hard to accept and swallow, so it's better to ignore it and keep going the way they want to go. What kind
of minds are you looking up to right now, like in terms of who do you learn from? Maybe like you're watching YouTube videos, any particular doctors, anyone?
Doctors. Elon Musk to me is an alien. I want to have 10% of his brain. I don't know. Elon Musk is really out of a movie, I think. I don't know. I admire all he did. I know what it means to have people that really are against you. I know a lot of things that he suffered, and I can.
You empathize with him. You feel
Absolutely.
like you've been in his shoes in a sense.
Yeah, I wish in the full ride, I wish I was the same like him. Totally not. But in many situations, they obviously for him were very big. In the little of my life, I saw they were the same. So I really understand how it is. A lot of people hate him indiscriminately for no reason, just because they're jealous, envious.
He's one of those people where I feel, how can you, out of everyone on the planet, that's like our last hope. If he was our last hope right there, and you're gonna demonize him in a sense.
Just I have a good reason. You know what I mean? Like you say, I've been working with him 3 months. I saw he's an asshole, and I'm gonna say it, which may be, also who knows. Steve Jobs, came out to have been not the nicest person ever. Still, what he built,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
I was just I was giving an example of like who else is trying to do so much for humanity. That's all. Like nobody.
No,
really.
Exactly, because if you look at Bezos, for example, is absolutely the opposite, right? He just needs to show off. He just needs to not be less than, but he doesn't have any aim to help humans.
That's very interesting. I never thought about Bezos in this at all.
Is the villain in the story, the comics.
Shit, yeah, like Lex Luger. But how do you feel about the Neuralink transition recently? That's a huge. I was like, dude, forget what you think about him as a person. Come on, like that's insane.
I love how he can help people with like they never been walking, they never seeing, and you can potentially
it's another
give
level.
Them back.
It doesn't exist.
Can you imagine an army that has this thing planted in their head and they're controlled remotely?
Why'd you have to go there? Why?
No, but I mean, everything has the two sides. There is, hey, you make a nuclear plant for electricity, you make a nuclear bomb on the other side.
I just imagined you as the guy in the room that's pissed. This guy's getting this experience and you're just freaking out. Like, this is our doom.
To be honest, what I'm afraid of are drones with weapons on. Because drones with weapons on really, they have nothing to lose and they can kill you. Don't even have the time to say, those, if managed or maneuver by somebody that has a good reason, because you are, for example, leaking information out of the government or whatever, it is something that you don't have escapes. There is no way.
I was trying to write a paper on how to use AI drones to stop poaching of animals and like stop the endangered species. And immediately at the end of my paper, I'm thinking, oh, what about the ethics? Yeah, are they going to use it against us?
It is right. That's why I think
horrible.
But think also, as you were saying before, ChatGPT, we all gonna have the same skills you said before, right? Because we use ChatGPT. At the same time, we're gonna always end up thinking the same way because we are educated in the same manner, or following a particular agenda of somebody. And that's something that if it's in good hands, it would be amazing if every kid that is born tomorrow use ChatGPT and teach to be nice humans in all the world, 7 billion people, tomorrow are all be nice people. There is no more wars. We all help each other, respect the planet, etc., etc. That would be amazing. It's strangely, the humans hardly think this is a good thing to do. I don't know why.
Can we get into like a little like spirituality, and because we briefly touched on like UFOs and stuff, but do you have any hard opinions on anything or any of the technology?
So
any experiences?
Other life in the universe exists statistically. Is obviously true that there is that they reach our planet. There are so many
been here.
Or in what direction? Things dimensions. There is a beautiful book written in 1800, which is called Flatland.
Oh, wow.
Do you know it?
No.
I can give you a very brief recap of the story because it's very fascinating. So, Flatland is a world in 2 dimensions only. Okay, so people living there are square, triangles, polygons. The real family is circles because they're super nice. So like the low class is triangles, something like this. And there is this square that lives in his own house, and where there are the room of the kids, etc., etc. And he falls asleep. He has this dream that is in front of a line, and this line is full of segments. And this is a world at 1 dimension. The king is in the center. And he started talking to the king, and the king says, "Where are you? I cannot see you." And the square says, "I'm outside here in the second dimension," but there is no such thing like second dimension. Is one dimension, and says, "Okay, let me wait. I intersecate." So the square intersecate the line and appears out of nowhere for the king as a piece next to him. It's like, "Oh my God, you're appearing out of nowhere." And so he has this strange dream of this one-dimension world. He wakes up and he noticed that in his living room there is a circle, and says, "Oh my God, somebody from the royal family in my house." And he started talking. The circle says, "No, I am a sphere." Says, "What is a sphere?" A sphere, I am like in 3 dimensions. There's no such thing like 3 dimension. And says, "Wait a second." So this sphere take one corner of the square, pull it out in the 3rd dimension, and suddenly the square can see all his world from the top. Can even see inside the room because the door were in 2 dimension only. Can see inside his safe all the stuff that there is because he's seeing his world from the 3rd dimension. And he's like puzzled, and he says, "Okay, I had a dream of 1 dimension. I'm 2 dimension. You show me the 3 dimension. Can we go to the 4 dimension?" And the sphere says, "There is no such thing like 4 dimensions." And it says, "I thought there was no such thing like 3 dimension." And this was written by a teacher for the kids, asking the kids to explain which is the 4th dimension, hoping that the fresh brain of a little kid can give an explanation that a grown-up cannot give. Okay. And this book is fantastic because it really deepens you on this idea that dimension cannot be only 3. There is a 4th dimension, there is a 5th dimension, and science is showing that it's true, this thing, right?
But the story basically gives it from a dimensional, here's like a flat, literally like 2D perspective, and then bring it to the 3D, and then you're trying to imagine what the next one would be, if I'm not mistaken, right?
If you think as a 3-dimensional beings, we see in 2D, we don't see in 3D. So we see an image, our brain elaborates the 3 dimension because if we move with 2 eyes, we see depth. But if you have a car leaving straight from you, you honestly see the car just becoming smaller. You don't see it moving, right? Because what we see is 2 dimensions, because we're in 3 dimensions. One person in 2 dimensions in 1 dimension, and the person in 1 dimension is just a dot, because it's right the 1 dimension. So if you see in 4 dimensions, if you're in a 4-dimensional beings, then you can see in 3 dimensions, which means that the car that is moving away from you, you see it moving, because you can see it like from the 4th dimension down to the 3 dimension, right? And if you put your brain into it, it's not difficult, but it's difficult. I never managed to do, but my nephew managed.
You're making me want to see if AI could do that even better, though. Where
right?
it put it into words even better. Interesting.
Like you need to teach me how to see in 4 dimensions, in 3. Until we don't start, I'm gonna start in the
problem. Do you have any theories on like GPT-5? Do you think it's just going to be like super advanced reasoning and weaving in narratives, just
at this point
thinking ahead? Also,
look, at this point, ChatGPT-4 is better than a human, right? It knows more than a single person can know. It reasons faster than every single person can reason, right? If we scaling 5, 6, 7 means that it just know more things, it can deduct the solution faster, but there will be no much difference in terms of the bottleneck is us as a user. What you can extract from ChatGPT. Code for software, email. There was a very funny comic strip that there is the guy sitting, says, "Say ChatGPT, this 4 bullet point, make a nice email out of it," and ChatGPT make a nice email. So he send the email. On the other side, the person received the email and says, "ChatGPT, out of this email, make me 4 bullet points," because at the end, what we want from ChatGPT, what is the one more things that we cannot get out from ChatGPT now, so I think that is the application of these in robotics. For example, 2024 is going to be the year of robotics. You're going to hear more and more robots and the agents. So the fact that this ChatGPT is close on his own interface, but it should end up into all the function of your life. So simple things, Alexa, turn on the light.
How about like things like immortality and things?
then this goes with Neuralink, I think. So if we can train an AI with the synapses of our own brain, can I backup myself in a model, language only, or even drawing, composing music?
And I feel like you wouldn't be able to maybe like reverse age. You might probably stay where you're at and then like reverse or keep whatever at a stable level or something. That's what I feel like.
Or even evolve with new information you have. I mean, the day that I'm dying, I can give a keychain to my kids, and they keep talking to me. If they want a suggestion, what their father will say, they take the keychain and say, "Hey, Papa, I'm here. I don't know. My boyfriend said this. So it can reason as me if I can model an AI to be, like if Neuralink can copy the synapses and restore the synapses in a model, because that's how it is. Probably you get to the
not
point.
just that, but you made me think like how easy it would be to know our personalities, right? Like just go through their social media, put together their personality, record your voice, and now it's really what you would say,
Right, absolutely. Yeah, but these things are not impossible today. So this is not the future. This is just the fact that somebody has to do it, or the ethics of doing it or not. To go to an upper level, I think that the actual cloning of a person brain, I think the Black Mirror series in Netflix really covered them all. There is no much else to possibly think.
The thing is, though, if you look at like ancient civilizations, wouldn't you say we're kind of at that cusp again, where we're like messing with eugenics and probably going to be breeding things we shouldn't be doing, because everyone's going to have these abilities. I can just see it getting out of hand, like people at home experimenting type of things.
Pardon this 15-second interruption, but have you ever considered video editing? Check out Movavi. It's super user-friendly. You might be surprised by what you can learn so easily. Consider it. It's what I use. Check out the link in the description below. Let's get back to the show.
I think the past civilization that got destroyed, you take Atlantis, take the South American things that they're finding that are more innovative of the following parts. Our civilization that have been destroyed massively, which means that there is really a big reset. Is it like a big meteorite that comes down, or a level of pollution that kills everybody, or whatever? I don't know. I mean, like in terms of...
Never heard that one, though. We pollute ourselves. We just suffocate with plastic.
Well, in terms, not in terms of gases, but plastic in the food, for example, rather than... as human, we adapt a lot, so we survive many changes.
We'll just get another layer of plastic over our skin, most likely.
Yeah, exactly. We start digesting it. Rather than going to urinate, we produce fuel. Right?
It's ethanol.
Ethanol, exactly. We can power our car. I don't know. I think that there is always the risk to zeros humans in the planet, and I think Elon Musk fears this a lot as well. He's very very much rushing the building of a human on Mars.
Intelligence and shit.
No, I mean, really, it wants to make sure that there are two planets. If something goes wrong in one, at least the other survives, to maintain. Which means that if
all right, then now you're going to make me want to get into space, all right? Because what are your thoughts on getting outside the belt? Have we been outside? Have we gone to the moon? What are your thoughts on that?
Sadly, I stand, Here
it comes. Hold on, let me sit down.
If you want to take the conspirationist out of me, talk me about 7-Eleven. No, 7-Eleven is the supermarket. 9/11, which is the inside jobs, the biggest inside jobs in the world, in my opinion. Going to the moon, right? It seems so strange that they suddenly stopped. They never talk so much about the following missions and things. Then they say that some satellite photograph the leftover of something. It's such an easy cover up that can be done, because I think that at a certain point they wanted to go back, but they realized that there are some radiation that will kill anybody trying to go in the direction. I don't know.
No aliens.
No, it is.
Not
There was a very
told to not
the-
return on any certain circumstance.
exactly. Water on the moon. There are a few interesting movies. It's true that as a starting base to go to the rest of the space, the moon would be fantastic because it's very easy to lift off from there. So is a good starting point. Um, and I think the intention to go has been there in the past few years a lot, and I think unmanned things arrived. I think Indians, the Indians sent something, like we've been there so many years ago. Probably not the first time. I think it was a very good reason to fake it. That there was such a competition with, Russia to be the first. That it makes sense that it was a setup that they went actually for real in the future. After that, maybe I don't see the technology to be able to have fuel to restart, and it's not a simple thing. You know what I mean? Like they don't get it right today with super powerful computer. At the time, there was like no power whatsoever, and
Yeah, it's
yet
like less than the first iPhone, if I'm not mistaken. Like it didn't have anything.
the first iPhone was like 100 times, 1,000 times more. It was really like a nothing computer. What I don't know. There are many difficult things, and honestly, doesn't matter. What is matter to me is the future, right? So, are we actually doing it? And
I think it's important though, like that you put that into words, because I don't think people really understand the technology. I think they just assume a rocket is just advanced, right? Like those two things go together.
see, sometimes we see the cartoon where there is the rocket with the small blow and the guy with the steering wheel deciding where the rocket should go, right? And go wonder. Do I know? I'm not an expert in rocketry, so I have no idea if that will be the case. But the biggest issue is to lift off and arrive there, right? So arrive outside the atmosphere and then point there. And when you are arriving toward the moon, look, for example, think this, and how much it took Elon Musk to make those rockets, the base to land and stand straight without crashing, right?
Yeah.
Why the first time trying should we land perfectly on the moon without having a disaster? You know what I mean? If today's computer with all today's technology fails until maybe a little bit works, and whereas being all those tests done to say I can do a vertical landing of a small spaceship in a planet where I don't know nothing, because it was really a jump in the dark. It was not. I don't know. It make you think. Maybe they did it. I don't know. I hope they did it, because
Are,
it will be.
now, are there any like other cultures or countries maybe that you're fascinated by on this topic, or whether it's space or UFOs or innovation, any of these things are more open with their population?
That's no easy. I think Russia. What happened there is a lot filtered to the rest of the world. So maybe there is a lot of successes that we never listen or hear about. India is doing a lot of things for space. They are start sending people as well soon. So because United States, Russia were the only countries, right, that they could do now India. Uh, Go on. I mean, and all the UFOs things as well, and all those secrets, things, strange stuff that appear, don't have to come from outer space. Maybe there is. We don't know what there is in the bottom of the ocean. We know more about the space than we know about the bottom of the ocean. Maybe there is a civilization living there that sometime come out. Do we know? There is so many things that we have no clue, and once you don't know, everything is possible, right? So
Do you have any opinion on Skinwalker Ranch specifically?
what is that? I don't know.
Ooh, Skinwalker Ranch, just basically an area known for paranormal phenomenon.
Okay, and I will Google
Yeah,
it. I have no.
you'll enjoy that one. That's a wormhole for sure.
Okay.
Where it seems like basically what you're thinking, there's a consciousness that knows in advance what you're gonna do there in that area, and it kind of
Mhm.
messes with you. Like it'll do
Okay.
things. There's time slips, things like that. A lot of weird anomalies. It's super interesting.
Is this in the United States? What is it?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken,
Okay.
I think it's in the East Coast. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Okay. I will search about it.
Yeah,
and at the same time, you know how many patents, invention, not patents because patents are published publicly, how many invention of particular weapons that can mess with people's brain just pointing these things, and some being actually shown and proven are there in controlling people, in doing. It is interesting because go wonder if some of those places is just an experimental
for sure.
ground to try this kind of like weapon. You go there, somebody point these things to you, and you start
do you feel like the technology probably is a lot more advanced than we're aware of, in a sense?
Oh, but that's a fact. That's not the things that get released to the public. I personally saw Sony, I think it was Sony or another company, I remember, presenting, and this was 20 plus years ago, a television that is like a cloth. So it was full high resolution, but you can make a ball out of it. You can cover yourself with it, something like this.
A cloth?
And yeah, like a bed sheet. I don't know,
wow.
And this was 20 plus years ago, and never saw it around, obviously, because it's a fantastic tool for the army, and you don't want these things to circulate. It was presented public and then disappeared. There are a lot of technology that are presented publicly and then disappeared. Think about Google Glasses, for example. Google Glasses were fantastic.
Man.
Why they're gone? Why they're not? I cannot buy them online or something. Just a few people managed to have it, then disappeared. Somebody paid big money to have the exclusivity. So there are a lot of, InQtel. InQtel is a startup accelerator partnered by the CIA and mixed with private, and every nice technology that is there and is accelerated, and at a certain point split, and there is the version for CIA and the version for the public, because they also realize that the technology need to be mass tested before it can be granted secure and safe and stable, And InQtel is nothing secret, is the CIA technology accelerator incubator for things. They have grants, they give a lot of money for technologies. But it shows that there is a particular interest in innovation.
You're talking about what you've seen, right? What do you anticipate that they most likely do have that you haven't seen?
That's open like a huge set of possibilities. I'm sure that there are.
Like, what wouldn't surprise you?
Vision through walls, for example, which is now leaking to public through
the Wi-Fi routers, right?
For example, that's one of the systems, exactly. So much more clear than just the heat or other things. So, and yeah, that's for example one thing that I think is commonly used. But I think that the most scary are more boring, not so exciting technology. The most scary is really data mining and people profiling to an extensive level that we have no idea. I mean, like when they say Google knows you better than you know yourself, it's not a joke. It's real. And a government organization, they have access to the huge amount of data set, because from the use of your credit card to the movement of your car license plate around the city to your online life, they can really profile a person under aspects that they can create a character that comes to you and match 200% with you. It's somebody you fall in love in a second. If they needed to hook you, they know exactly what to present to you to get you there, in a second, or convince you or something, whatever it has to be. I think those technologies, which are not like the super gun or fantastic cloth of invisibility, etc., which are more exciting, are actually more boring, but much more scary, in my opinion.
Do you feel like if you invented a technology that could change the world, that you'd not even want to tell somebody like that? Because it does make me think like people are fearful for that reason, right? Like someone always wants to come scoop it up. What's next?
That's why I support open sourcing everything, right? So I think Elon Musk himself,
transparency is what you're saying, right?
You don't patent anything, do it, and then open source stuff and leave everybody, good and the bad guys, to access it, because you don't know who's good or bad. So the only way to...
Speaking of not knowing who's good or bad, what are your thoughts on the AI bias with Google? I'm sure you saw that presentation, right?
Look, honestly, I think the rest of the planet is looking in the United States a little bit with overnight what's going on there. I was making a booking for airplane tickets to go out of the country because I'm renewing my work permit, my stay permit. And when you book your ticket, you need to put your precise data. If you misspell your name, you cannot fly, right? And in the sex, it was male, female, and non-binary. Now, how can something out of the fantasy be an option there? So if I choose non-binary, it must be that my document says non-binary, or is it my choice? Either I'm male or female at the end. Then I can pretend what I want, and I have the freedom to be what I want in life, and I have full respect of that. But on the basic of true, in the moment that you want to identify me when I'm flying, if I am the one that purchased the ticket or I am somebody with bad intention, I need to put the data there. The fact that the airline company has to add the option, and this is means that there is something that is, and it is not an American company, it's an European airline company. I wonder where we're going to end up with this pretending I feel I am a horse, so you need to treat me like a horse. I don't know what it means that, and you need to respect this, because if you don't, I'm gonna sue you, in the
Trust
workplace
me,
or whatever.
I've wasted a lot of time like doing pronouns in meetings, a lot of time.
It says, "Hi, how somebody that is in the situation can unlive and kill somebody else because they slash them." It is. I don't know. It is something that I believe people has the freedom to talk, to think about themselves what they want, but you cannot impose this on others.
Right?
As simple as
That's
it is.
The most important part. That's
absolutely,
the most important part.
It is nonsense. But what is happening is concerning, very much concerning, because usually what happened there, then it start flowing in Europe, then it start flowing in other countries.
And it's obviously like people are looking for arguments or looking for like conflict or engagement to like say, what am I? Like, why don't you just tell me what you are? Like, let's avoid this altogether.
Most of the time, if those are the problems that somebody has, lucky them, because means that they have food on the table, they have a roof on their head, because else they will be concerned about something else.
The fact that identity is your problem means you're doing well.
Very, very much. Yes, absolutely.
That's the quote of this interview. I love it. That was good. Another reason to be grateful. All right, let's move along here. How do you envision integration of AI and blockchain technologies evolving, and what impacts could this have on like all industries?
Okay. Now, this is my thing. I want to decentralize artificial intelligence. I'm putting together, if somebody that is hearing this want to participate, please contact me. I want to put together this and decentralize artificial intelligence. The scary part of AI now is the data center where it's run is controlled by few people. Can you imagine tomorrow ChatGPT take a sponsor, somebody that sell Johnson & Johnson? So everybody that use ChatGPT doing whatever, but everybody's washing their hair with the shampoo from the sponsor because ChatGPT is manipulating them to do so. So in this way or in another, it's good to decentralize the consumption of artificial intelligence, putting multiple skill sets in many different nodes, and having your client to act as an agent that knows how to split your problem between many nodes, and paying by usage in this way that is decentralized. I do believe that this is a very important things to do.
When it comes to like ethics and morality with AI, this is why you're saying it, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more wide because it's harder to control, but you can filter what you want to know. So that's the same principle of the Twitter content that we were talking before, right? But if I have 10,000 nodes, each of these nodes is running a model that has a particular skill set, is learning more, a particular kind of things, is more in mathematics, in art, etc., etc. When I query, I can query a vast set to get a result that is very democratically true, okay, because it's diverse and is strong, right?
What about like in terms of like philosophical perspectives? Like, do you believe like how like the guiding and development of blockchain and AI? Do you have any specific philosophy on it?
Look,
I mean, but besides what we just obviously went over on decentralizing.
I think that we are at the point where AI train AI, right? And people working with AI is funny because coding an application like Microsoft Word, for example, as a developer is a massive things to do, right? But setting up models, training models, and getting result out of models is such a simple task that really is just a matter of put yourself there. People think AI is such a complicated things, etc., etc. No. If you want to understand the technological background, I suggest everybody to go in YouTube and Google, search for Radu, R-A-D-U, and then AI or neural network or something like this. This is a young guy, is a teacher at a university in East Europe, and make these courses to learn AI. He made the self-driving car logic, how the neural network train itself. And if somebody has a basic, you can do this in JavaScript in the browser. Don't need to even compile anything, and it really shows the technical things behind neural networks. But if people want to skip this part because they're not interested in the basic technology, but want to just work with AI, is the simplest thing in the planet. You can install LM Studios, for example, in your computer. Is an application that allow you to download the model. Hugging Face is a website where there are a lot of AI model. LM Studios is connected directly there. You can download it and run it locally in your computer, so you don't depend on ChatGPT. You don't pay a monthly fee, and there are models that are very powerful. You need a computer that is a little bit good, some memory, some processor, but like a very good notebook can do it. A gaming notebook, for example, can support those things. And another one is Facebook, open source his own system, and is called Llama, and as the icon of a llama, and is actually compatible with the ChatGPT, which means that the same API call, so any application that use ChatGPT can use Llama. Obviously, the training of this AI is done with a political agenda in mind sometime, or using well, we saw what happened with Google was ridiculous, right? And like black Nazis and so on. We had the most strange things coming out.
I was waiting for you to say it. I didn't want to say
it. Oh, well, you can beep it out from my voice, but is actually
it's a big problem though. It's a huge issue.
No, that shows that the brain of an AI is what people make of it. Is not an universal brain, right? So that's why it's important to train model in a very different way. So if you have a decentralized AI, there's 10,000 nodes, and the learning come from different, very diverse source. You get the closest truth that you can, right? Rather than something that is
instead of trying to be fair and equal about history, right?
Yeah, and true, exactly, correct.
Whatever that means, anyway. But from your experience, what are like the most significant challenges that are like facing the future of decentralized systems, and how do we address them?
But the big interest of centralized things. If I decentralize email servers, then Gmail, Outlook, and the others have no business anymore, right? And so they cannot read our emails anymore. Because you think decentralizing is key. Email by itself was decentralized. When email came out, every office had their own mail server. Every office installed their own mail server, and when you send mail, they bounce from one mail server to the other. Now everybody has a Gmail. Everybody has a Yahoo or Outlook, and even with their own customized domain name, but the managing of the email.
You're just saying, how are we going to cut out the middleman next, in a sense, huh?
But decentralized means cutting out the middleman, right? Yeah. In all terms, and not only in cryptocurrency terms, but in many other kind of services, is important to decentralize.
Very cool. That's interesting. What about like how blockchain can contribute to sustainable development? Because this is one that I'm really interested in terms of like ethical consideration that comes into play when you're trying to deploy it,
But blockchain allow governance to be done in a fair manner, right? So when you have to take decisions, this decision can be voted on by the participant following particular rules that are being agreed upon. And I think this is a very democratic way to see. Sadly, unfortunately, sometimes the majority want their strong interest first rather than the ethical outcome or something rather than not. But that shows only what things should be, because that's become a dictatorship. I want you to do good. If you want to do something else, I exclude you.
Do you have any thoughts on DAOs? DAO?
But DAOs, what we mean with DAOs, we mean smart contract program to be, autonomous,
like self-governing in a sense.
Yeah, or even if the governing of the DAO is done by vote of participant, but the technical structure of a DAO is not strong, in my opinion. A decentralized application, okay, the D app, there is actually coded in C, fully functional application, but is decentralized. That is going to be strong in terms of guarantees of a procedure for the people that use it, so that you participate in this application. The application is coded like this, the outcome is this, there is no doubt, nobody cheat, etc., etc.
Yeah,
it should be used for the paperwork. All the bureaucracy should be set in a sort of decentralized application. I want to subscribe to the gym. I need a health certificate. A certificate needs to be issued by a doctor that is registered a registered doctor. The registered doctor is managed by a government office. So the government doctor get the title from the university. The university degree is recorded.
You're describing an ideal world right now, right?
I mean, like when you go to the gym, the certificate is good for sure, because the university give the degree, the ID card of the doctor is recorded to that degree. The degree is registered for the doctor, release the certificate, signed with his signature. There's cryptographically sure. And when you go to the gym, they record it, and your pass to enter the gym is okay. It's scary on another way, because all the borderline thing. Think about if you need to enter your driver license as a smart card in your car in order to drive it. So in the morning, you go there in the garage, you take out your wallet, take out your driver license, you enter it in a car reader in your car, and then finally you can drive around.
I can see it coming.
Right, so they know who was driving for sure, who was the driver license insert to be able to drive.
And then I'm sure they'll let the police know if you're not even supposed to be on the
Absolutely
road,
correct.
right?
The insurance, for example, But at the same time, you can pay much less in insurance. Say you use the car only once a month. Why you should pay the insurance as much as somebody that drive every single day out? So you can have an insurance that is charging you only when your car is on the road. And
interesting. That's a good one.
Yeah, many use cases you can do in a decentralized world with cryptographic validation of things. It's beautiful. We need to learn and apply these things slowly. I do consultancy. Somebody want a consultancy on decentralizing, please call me. But
for sure. The other thing is in terms of like Tesla, and we're talking about like how they collect data and things, I wrote a paper on like future of urban development, and one of the things I'm predicting is like no traffic lights anymore. Cars can go faster on highways. We would repurpose parking lots for like different things, preferably affordable housing. But I'm just thinking, like, are there any other ways that you see, you know, the advancement of self-driving cars just really changing humanity?
I think that the ownership of a car is going to become more luxury things. Already, car sharing in many cities allow people not to have to own a car, worry where to park it. They book it on their app, they go down, they find the car. The car that can even drive itself. So, you know, it's really, you can send it to the supermarket. The guy at the supermarket put all the shopping inside and it comes to your home. Unless there is already a delivery, you can work when you're commuting to a meeting that you want to do in person for a particular reason. I do believe that the paradigm of how we see transportation changes a lot. And it's going to be collective owned cars, but no. So you participate to the ownership of the fleet, not to a single particular car, right? Unless you are aficionado of cars, you want your own car.
You know, you just made me think like it'll turn into subscriptions like everything else.
Yeah, correct. Exactly correct.
Wow. Okay, we're almost done here. Innovation and change management in like the context of rapid technological changes. How should organizations approach innovation and change their management to leverage blockchain effectively? You can include consulting you.
That's exactly the first answer. I mean, like there is the difficult thing about the real use of decentralized systems. Okay, I don't say blockchain because blockchain is one tool, but there are many other things. A decentralized system requires the participation of multiple parties. So you cannot have a single company say, I want a decentralized system for myself, because at the point to put a centralized server is much easier to manage, to maintain, and to control. You know, so the centralized system requires the multiple parties want to work together without electing one super parties to manage the data center and the data, right? So usually the best people to approach for a decentralized system are consortium. So a consortium of, I don't know, coffee producers rather than hospitals, rather than, and then they say, we're many, we have this sort of decision making for favoring everybody, and we all chip in and we do something like that. Or there is somebody that see a very strong problem and want to invest and say, okay, I work in the supply chain for this particular production, and I know that they're losing millions of dollars in that spot and can be optimized, giving them an instrument that they can opt in very easily. Just with a cell phone, you secure code, and you're in, and that saves you $1 million. Because there is no more mistake, there is no more fake document, or you can track where you lost something, etc., etc. At the point, okay, says, okay, I know that there is this possibility, so let's build a tool and then advertise them to participate for very little, and then once it's spread out to many users, I'm making back my money. So, but it has to be, nobody owns it anymore. That's the point. Somebody can make money out of it, but nobody owns the system. That's the key difficult part. Culturally, is such a shift that is hard for people to understand. You know, it is the paradigm change. It's something for the community. It's something for the many, not something by the single for the many. Something by the many for the many. Because
I had another question about AI. It just slipped my mind though. It'll probably come back. What about like key factors? I don't want to use the word blockchain, but to adopt it globally, how do you see different regions of the world responding? Because obviously America has all the money to invest in ridiculous infrastructure.
I think the successful projects are bottom up, hardly are top down, right? So musicians, let's do this layer one that guarantee the right of a song, plus you can split the different part of the music to see if somebody can use it, or you want to know who used it in their song in order to create a collab, whatever, I don't know. And so you do really layer one transaction to say this is the full MP3 of any song, those are the different riffs I put inside, this is the split instrument and audio, and I claim the right. Somebody want to use and publish, I make money when they sell, whatever, and then can be implemented and offered and distributed. Or obviously at the beginning somebody can do some market research, right? So start emailing 100 other people, say, hey, there was something like this, would you use it? Would you love to participate in making it? Blah blah blah. That's the beautiful way when a project is born and grows and has and functions. That thinking that the label start making something like this for the musician down is hardly something that will ever happen, because they want the full control of everything. So you disrupt bottom up.
It's so true. Yeah, it's horrible to think that every invention I make, I'm always like, okay, I know it's for me, but how do I make sure that they're happy first? Because you always want to make sure the person you're selling to has the benefit, or like has one over on you. It's just an idea.
Absolutely.
Last question is just how critical thinking plays a role in developing blockchain. Like any common misconceptions that you encounter?
Yeah, you need to really think out of the box. I lectured at the university in Singapore how to make a blockchain to play tic-tac-toe or to play chess, okay? To kill all the myth that there is an immutable record, there is a ledger. No, is a network, a peer-to-peer network, where people can send an instruction, and there is a protocol that says this instruction is good, I execute it, or is not respecting the rules, I bounce it back. This is the really bottom part of blockchain. So I can use it to say, okay, I'm selling material for construction, but I never recorded that I loaded it, so I cannot sell it. I need to follow the basic rules that are embedded and encoded on the core software of the blockchain. And then really you can do everything, right? So you need to really think outside the box. The critical thinking is how this benefits the collectivity, and how this cannot be controlled or gamed or played on by a single party against the collectivity, right? And this is a lot of R&D, a lot of testing, a lot of things, because
a lot of good versus evil.
Yeah, it's not easy to think decentralized. Unfortunately, a developer that code the normally client server application or a client application, to start coding decentralized, it takes them at least a minimum 6 months to start changing the brain in the way that you code. Is really different.
Wow. All right, last question is just, the title of the show is called More Than Rich. What does it mean to be more than rich to you?
I'm a father, and looking at my kids make me the wealthiest person in the planet, I guess. Wealth, when you transfer the meaning of rich into wealth, change person by person. Can be health. Somebody is very sick, will be very wealthy if he's healthy. Some other person really would love to be able to do something in terms of education. So wealth is education, knowing a lot of things, a lot of friends that loves you, family that loves you, rather than being alone. Personally, to me, is to leave a legacy. So do things that stay there for the future of
To be
of
indelible
people.
is the word, I think.
But not for the memory of myself, more for something that I did at the state that is used. Just if I made a piece of software and now there is still hundreds of companies that are still using it, it's good for me, right? That's something that
you contributed to humanity.
Yeah, exactly. I contribute. Correct. Contribution. That's the wealth.
Wow.
Knowing going to sleep or die, knowing that you did your part in the world.
Now that made me actually think about my own perspective differently. That's a good answer. Yeah. Anything else you want to advertise? Get your promotion out there, social media, website?
No, my name is simple. My website can be reached with rcx.it. So it's really 5 letters. And somebody want to talk to me, are welcome to
particularly what kind of work are you interested in, just so they know?
I mean, I do consultation for decentralization. So whatever there is a system that need to be decentralized, I offer that. I look to put together this thing about decentralizing AI. So I want to have a very good team. I'm going to put my intellectual property that I own from the layer one I developed to do this. And there is the need of everything there, money and people volunteering to help code. There are several things to be done, but something that slowly is coming together. And there is a book that I can share with you the link. We can put it in the description of the video. It's for free to be downloaded. It's published already a few years ago, but on how to look at blockchain from a different angle, a different point of view.
Nice. Okay. That's good. Good way to end it. All right. I appreciate your help and all the time that we spent on this. I learned way more than I expected, as usual, on these podcasts. And I think this is my longest one too. So I think it'll show for it with how much we talked about. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
Oh, well, I'm here always all the time.
I also plan to put you in touch with a couple of people, so I'll send you an email and follow up.
Super.